Good day to you all. Welcome to the show. It's Pro Synth Network, episode 148. How many more have we got to do until we have 3 years? Another 4 shows, and then we'll have been doing this 3 years. Bonkers. Welcome to you. If you're watching live, hello to all you chatties out there. If you're watching on catch up, then where the hell were you? But thank you for coming back and checking us out. We're down a host, but we've got a great guest for you. Before we do all of that, let's get all the boring stuff out of the way. Please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. The like button's just down there somewhere underneath here, and you can click that during the show. Apparently, that really does help. So who knew? But yeah, if you can do that, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do, because that really does help with us getting our show out there. And of course, you can share us around to anyone that you might think would enjoy us. You are all over the socials, as the kids say. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, where the main group is, and of course we're here on YouTube, where the bulk of our audience is. But we also broadcast to Twitter and Twitch and Facebook. So if you're watching there, hi, you can send us messages. We will see them. Maybe not everyone else will see them, but we will see them, and we can relay those to everyone in the chat. If you have a question for us or for our guest, then please do prefix your question with a big capital Q. It helps us spot it in the chat, and we can throw it into the bucket and ask that question during the show. If you want to buy merchandise, which I am not availing, I've lost my t-shirt. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere at the bottom of an ironing basket, I think. But yeah, if you want to buy some t-shirts or sweatshirts or hoodies or polo shirts, they are still being manufactured by vipergraphics.co.uk. They're a little bit slow because he's not too well at the moment, but he is honouring as many orders as he can, as quickly as he can. And we get, of course, a little kickback from that. Right. Before we meet our guest, let's bring in my fellow co-host, partner in crime, Mr. Kent Spong. Good evening.
Greetings.
How is thee? How are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the only one representing tonight.
You are. Well done. Thank you for keeping the British end up.
Yeah, bigger washing basket, probably.
Yes, probably, yeah. More efficient spouse, maybe.
I don't know about that.
Yes.
Go on.
Anyway,
Yeah.
How's your week been?
Awful.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Do
there you
tell.
go. Oh, no, it's nothing special. It's just Yamaha are idiots.
Okay.
There you go.
You know that sort of talk is banned around here. We don't do that.
This particular Yamaha, they were very, very stupid.
43 years ago, they were very stupid.
Yeah. Well, they printed all the orientation of the components on the boards back to front.
Maybe you had to assemble it in the mirror.
It's something like that.
Yeah, could be.
Only got half of them right.
How is the GS1 though? Is it functioning yet, or are you still some way off? Okay, less said.
No, not talking about it.
All right. Well, good to see you, mate, as always. Welcome
you.
back. And, of course, we'll hear more from Kent throughout the show, as we always do. Let's just say hello to our chatties. I'm not going to go through all the names, because there's so many of you there. But, first of all, big shout-out to Wagyu for his 10 chuffs. Thank you very much for the super sticker. We do like chuffs around here. And also, I'd like to say a big thank you to Andy Brooks, who's in the chat, because he is one of our moderators, so he keeps all of you audible lot in line. A Synth, yes, Andy Synth there as well, so Andy's also a moderator. I can't remember who our other moderators are now. Is it just
You
Andy?
can't mention him, he hasn't paid yet.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah,
You know the rules.
You know the rules, yeah. Cash for questions. But yeah, listen, thank you, guys and girls, for joining us, and for our moderators, and for your donations. They are all super, super welcome. And of course, if you want to donate to the show, you can, just by doing what Wagyu's done through super chats and super stickers in YouTube. Of course, if you don't have that facility, then our I'll just get my finger in the right place. Down there somewhere in the description is a PayPal link. And in fact, I do have that said PayPal link just here. If you want to donate to the show, please do. That allows us to keep up all the licensing and pay all the bills and keep the lights on whilst we do this for you. So thank you very much. So it just leaves me with one very important piece of action, and that is to introduce you to our guest, who is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine, of Kent's, of the shows in general, and many of you, I am sure, as well. He is the one and the only, the gorgeous, delectable, slightly cantankerous Mr. Marc Doty. Let's give him a round of applause.
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, real deal here.
I don't know how much you paid all of those people.
Too much.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Good, I think.
Yeah,
things are a bit strange, but good.
Good. So you, things have changed for you in quite a way, haven't they, in recent months? So
Yes.
For a start, I know some people were expecting lots of fake DX7s in the background chiming on every quarter of the hour, but that's not going to happen today.
No, there will be, sadly, no clocks. It's become kind of a...
It's a thing.
It's a thing now with me. And it's because they're showing up in demonstrations, like in the background. And
Yeah.
people are like, there's someone at your door. When are you going to answer that? But yeah, it's not a door. I have this weird grandfather clock obsession now.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because this is a thing that maybe not a lot of... I don't know how many people know this, but you really do have an obsession with clocks.
Yeah, it happened in 2020. I found a grandfather clock at a thrift store, a charity shop, and I was just like, "Why is this here? How much is? I can't believe there's a grandfather clock here." And I went and looked at it, and it was $20. And I was like, "I'm buying this right now." And it was missing weights and a pendulum, and I got it home, and I'm like, I'm going to make this work in the same way that you always say things, or I always say things. I'm like, I'm going to learn to play the piccolo, and then I never do. And all those learned Gaelic tapes, I still haven't done that. Anyway, so I was kind of like tongue in cheek with myself. Yeah, Mark, you're really going to learn to fix grandfather clocks. But weirdly, I don't know what it is. It's the first thing that has ever justified the possibility of past lives for me, because I just knew how to make this thing work. And I intuited it, and everything made sense to me. And so then I found out that most people are trying to get rid of their grandfather clocks because they're too expensive to fix. And I'm like, so they put them up for like free sometimes, and then I'll bring it home, and it's like, of course, this just needs this, this, and this. And then it works, and they continue to work. And the problem is now I have 8 of them in my relatively small apartment. So yeah, but yeah, so there's constantly clocks going off at my place,
but not tonight. We have peace and quiet tonight.
Yes.
Albeit you might get raided. Is Christine home at the moment?
Christine is home, and the girls are home. And,
oh, fantastic!
I'm sure at some point we'll probably hear them. But yeah. Amazing.
Well, if she wants to come and pop in and say hi, because of course Christine was on the show. I was just checking when she was about 6 months ago. She was spectacular. She was absolutely fantastic. Yes. And we must get her on. In fact, what we should do is get you both on at the same time. I think that would be cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I'll get my people to call your people, and we'll sort.
Yeah, we'll run that through my system of management.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll email you. Okay, cool stuff. Well, welcome. It's always good to have you. If you have any questions for Mark, there has already been one. This is from Prometheus UK. The question is, are your clocks polyphonic or polyphonic? But I think what he meant to say was polyphonic or paraphonic.
Well, as each there's a hammer and a tine, so they are completely in charge of their own articulation. The clocks are polyphonic.
There we go. Definitive answer. There you can't get any more accurate than that. And also, I just want to say thank you, of course, to Andrew Brooks for his donation of £5 and to mention Robin Vincent's Synth East, which takes place 4 weeks tomorrow at the Norwich Arts Centre, right here in the middle of East Anglia. We will be there. ProSynth Network will be there. There'll be, I think, a DX1 and a TX816 on my stand. I'm not taking my DX7 because somebody else is bringing 2. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a church, an old converted church, full of bells again. Fantastic. I thought I'd get that one in before everybody else
Some
did.
people bought more than one.
I know. Who knew? Who knew? But yes, if you want to come along to Synth East, it's syntheast.co.uk is the website, and we'll be plugging that a little bit more a little bit later on. And actually, watch this space in the next couple of weeks. There might be something rather special involving Robin, myself, and one Paulie Alex Bow. We're hatching a little plan for a little bit of fun, online fun. So yeah, watch this space. We'll let you know when that gets finalised. But anyway, let's deal with the present, shall we? There's not much news again. It's kind of, this week has gone a little bit quiet again. All things have been sort of on hold, I guess, until the show season kicks in, or just after Christmas. So yeah, it sort of comes and goes. Last week we had a bunch of stuff. This week, not so much. But I do want to let everyone know that released today via his Bandcamp page, the one and only, the wonderful Ben Edwards, aka Benge, has released his Memetune TV show annual. Now, of course, we have been absolutely loving the Memetune show that he put together, which is this very kind of episodic 1970s early digital effects type TV show where he took us through his massive synthesizer collection and gave us demonstrations and education lessons, and did it all in a beautifully kind of kitsch. I was going to say quiche there. I'm thinking about my dinner. Beautifully kitsch kind of way. But to top it all off, as TV shows used to do, I don't know whether he did it in America, but certainly in the UK, every TV show, get my math working, every TV show at Christmas released an annual, which was just a hardback book with a compilation of clips or episodes or photographs and interviews and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, I remember having a Kojak TV annual and a Starsky and Hutch one, and Roy the Rovers, Eagle, all of those sort of classic comics and TV shows all had annuals. So Ben has produced one of his own, and it's there to kind of supplement the TV show, which is coming back for a second season later this year. Let me just play you the video, because, of course, being Benge, it's quite remarkable and fun to watch. So there you go. ZachDagobah.bandcamp.com is the website address, and you can go and buy that there if there's still any left. They're 35 British pounds, so I don't know what that equates to US or in euros. Probably a little bit more, I think. Or is it a little bit less? I don't know. I can't remember now. But it looks spectacular. I just think it's just such a great idea. I've already got mine on order. You get both. You get 50... Is it 55 tracks across 2 CDs included? And when you order the annual, of course, you get all of those available to download digitally. And there are all the demonstrations and the idents and everything that he did in those TV shows. I always think of Benge as like the British Marc Doty, if that could, there could be such a thing. Because you're both wonderful people who know so much about synthesizers and stuff. But have you ever thought of doing anything like that for the Automatic Gainsay channel?
I never have. I'm unfamiliar with the practice, but
Wow.
yeah, that seems like a cool thing.
Yeah, no, Andy in the chat said that it's not an American thing. It was just like we had books to celebrate our favorite TV shows or our favorite comics every Christmas. It was like cashing in on the whole thing, and it's what a brilliant idea.
Really.
Any thoughts on that one, Kent? Will you be getting a copy?
Well, I restored most of the things in the bloody book. I've already.
This is true. It'd be like an old photograph album, won't it? Oh look,
Yeah.
oh look! Do you remember when we did that one?
It's good to see he's still got the 2500 that he bought for $3,000.
I know. Yes.
Mind you, that was a box of bits. Yeah, no, it looks like a good laugh. You have a couple of CDs that I can play in the background while I'm working on
Yeah.
GS1s.
I mean, that particular track that he was playing, I can't remember what that was that was playing. But even just those little demos that he does are so good. And that 2500, I think I've said this 100 times. When I watched his 2500 demonstration, having never even, I don't think, been in the same room as a 2500, it baffled me just to look at it because I couldn't figure it all out. But that he did like 25 minute demo of how to patch a 2500, and it just made perfect sense. And I was like, I've got to do this. I've got to have a go on that. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It's actually a very, very straightforward, logical way of patching.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And, you know, there's no cables.
Yeah, exactly. Are you a fan of the 2500, Mark?
Well, the thing about the 2500 is, and it's hard for me because like you don't run into a 2500 like you may run into certain things, and there just simply has never been a time where I could come across the 2500 ever. And I mean, people don't even realize that for, I easily 20 years there were no pictures of good pictures of a 2500 on the internet even. So like coming in contact with a 2500 was so hard, and even now I still have never seen one in the flesh, which surprises even me. It's terrible. It's unfortunate, but
well, Dina Perlman's in the chat room. I'm sure Dina might be able to hook you up. Yeah, she's there.
She once harassed me for not ever having come across a 2500. So that's
good on her. She is good at that. She's tenacious, I think, is the way. But she is the lovely Dina Perlman. Everyone, she is in the chat. Here you go. Look.
Hi, Dina.
Hey there. Lovely to see Dina, as always. So if you are a fan of Memetune TV show, there is a new season coming soon. I haven't got dates for it yet. However, you can get the annual now. It's £35. You get the 2 CDs included with that as well, and a free download. Or if you just want the download, it's £9, I think, on Bandcamp to get that. And the link is in the chat. I think the guys have posted it up. Here we go. ZachDagobah.bandcamp.com. There we go. You can figure out the rest. The link will be below in the description. A short while after the show has ended, after I've had a few drinks, good night's kip, and we'll get to doing that. Apparently, you're to blame for Russell Butterfield buying a Matrix Brute and then a PolyBrute. That's big. That's big space needed. For that.
Internet might judge me harshly, but I have no regret.
No,
absolutely not. Especially the PolyBrute, which
it is an amazing synth, isn't it? Every time I look over and see it, I like kind of kick myself for not using it more than I do, mainly because of time. But it is, every time I turn it on, it's just like something new comes out of it that's just so inspiring and so expressive. And that's the thing that I love about it, just the expression.
I was just going to point out that when I did the you can easily discern a Minimoog video series, which it turned out was not so easy. Everyone chose the PolyBrute as the Minimoog, including some very seasoned people, including some Minimoog users. So yeah.
Well, talking of the PolyBrute, as we have just been doing, there has been a leak. I broke this on Gear News earlier this week. An American store called Pitbull Audio, and there was another one whose name escapes me at the moment, inadvertently stuck their sale pages up for the Noir edition of the Arturia PolyBrute. There it is. You can see it in all its splendor. It's just a PolyBrute. It's exactly the same. There's technically no difference apart from, and I thought that these were like black, maybe black plastic end caps on the new one. It's not. It's black wood. And even the what do they call it? What's the thing on the left called? The squidgy thing.
Expressive E type thing, is it?
Yeah, I forget. It has a name. Morphe. That's it. The Morphe.
Morphe.
The Morphe.
Okay.
Even that has a black wood effect surface. So you still get wood, but it's all black. And they've also, I've seen a couple of different pictures of this. So the only colour on this anywhere is the orange and the green, which is used in the nomenclature to distinguish between the ladder filter and the Steiner filter. I've seen other pictures of this on Arturia's website, which then came down fairly quickly as well, which I think, oh, they made a boo-boo, where the control knobs on the, is it the ladder at the top or the Steiner? I can't remember. The Steiner at the top, isn't it? They were orange knobs and green knobs, but I don't know. So we'll see. But it's definitely coming because Arturia definitely had at the top of their webpage 2 PolyBrutes like on top of each other, and the one in front was the Noir edition. So this is going to be available soon, I guess, and it is going to cost the same price. So in the US, that's about $26.99, maybe a little less in the UK. It's just an unbelievably good polyphonic analog synth. It's one of the finest, and actually, it's kind of continuously sating my desire for things like Prophet 5 Rev 4s and Oberheim OBX8s, because I think that they're both considerable amounts of money. And then I look to this and I think, well, I know that they can maybe do things slightly differently, but that just ticks pretty much most of my boxes. Do you like a good Noir edition, Mark?
I would say that if there was one thing that would make me, I mean, the PolyBrute is one of my favorite synths of all time. Like, it is my desert island synth, really. So, I mean, anything they do to it, I'm like, yeah, that's great. But if you're going to make a black edition, I think they should have made the keys black. But
I said exactly the same. Yeah,
I do. Because I think there should be more, variations in key color on synthesizers. Because I've always wanted the inverted or other colors, but no one really does it. So.
No, it was kind of. I mean, it was a thing in the 60s, wasn't it? With was it the Vox Continental had?
Yeah,
and there was stuff like that. And then I think in the synth world, it didn't really make a comeback until, was it Korg with, was it the Poly 61? What was it? It was one of the Korgs.
Oh,
it's Christine. Hiya.
So you can't hear you.
I can't actually hear you, but I wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? It's been a while.
Wonderful. I know.
Good.
I need to come back and say hi to you guys.
We said that already. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. Well,
did he show you the beautiful yellow couch he's sitting on?
We've had glimpses of it. We thought it was. I thought it was kind of like a Ukrainian thing, which I thought was rather cool because the background.
It could be. It could be. Why not? I won't say no to that.
Let's go with that. Yeah, let's go with that.
Are you well? A jolly fine morning. I am well. I'm teaching the girls to read. They just read important sentences like Dot has a dog, and dog has a hat, and dog has a rag hat, and Dot is sad.
Oh, Dot is sad because Dot doesn't have a PolyBrute. That's what it is.
Not exactly Jane Austen, is it?
I'm sad that I don't have a PolyBrute.
Come on,
you know what I did, you guys? Last night I ordered a P12.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys, that was a question I forgot to answer. Right when you're like, what else burned up in your studio that you really miss? I hadn't even thought to say my effing Prophet 12. So now all will be right in the world.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to hear what you do with that.
Okay, I'm getting crawled on by children. You can have these guys.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Bye.
Bye. So where were we? That was great. Guest appearance there by Christine, everyone. Let's give Christine a round of applause. If you want to check out Christine's work, then just go back to our YouTube page. About 6 months ago, I can't remember what episode number is, we did a whole show with Christine. She's fantastic. She's a real ball of energy, as you could probably tell. So where were we? PolyBrutes, Black Keys, yes, Korg. Did anybody in the chat correct
Up
me?
2500.
Was there a 2500 with black keys?
Yeah.
Just some of the keys.
Some of the keys down the bottom would be black.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
Yeah, inverted white.
Yeah.
For channel 2 or channel 1, depending on how you want to patch it.
Yeah. But I did think when I saw this, I thought they missed a trick. They didn't make the keys black. If they'd done the whole thing black, that would have been a proper
Yeah,
But still,
people
it's
might
nice.
have gone, oh, you did a Sledge SE.
Yeah, I think
Kind of
that was a recent one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a Korg, wasn't it? I'm sure it was one of the smaller Korgs.
The micro Korg had inverted keys at some point.
Yeah, they did. They did lots of different versions of that as well. And Korg, of course, Korg with their fateful monologue bass edition, which had the red keys instead of the white key. Or was it? I can't remember which way around it was. Yeah, there's some odd ones in there. But yeah, that would have been I'd been rather cool to see that. But it's I guess it's coming soon. The PolyBrute Noir edition, which just follows in the footsteps of what else did they do? Noir. They did the Matrix Brute Noir, didn't they? And is the Mini Brute? Did they do a Mini Brute Noir?
I think they did.
They've done a few. I think they've done
they
a
did.
few. It's interesting. It's interesting to see. So yeah, that'll be available soon, I hope. So leaked again by silly websites putting their pages up, but it looks pretty official because I think Arturia definitely had it on their website. And knowing my luck, by the time this show is over, I will just double check the Arturia page to make sure that they haven't actually announced it now and it's available. No, still not on their website. Anyway, if you want to read more about that, gearnews.com. I did a little piece on there, so you can go and check that out. Now, let's stay on the Arturia theme because Mr. Marc Doty has just started an extensive. I assume it's going to be an extensive series because your series tend to be extensive on the current synth du jour from Arturia, which is this wonderful thing. Let's just play the intro video here for everyone. So here we go. Well, that was just a little treat of the intro to the Minifreak series that Mark is now doing over on his channel Automatic Gainsay, which of course is right there on YouTube. It's the only one that's called that, and it's got wonderful content on there. Mark, tell us, you love the Minifreak almost as much as you love the PolyBrute, yeah?
Yeah, like ever since, like, of course, as you might know, Rob, I'm not really a digital synth person. Well, certainly my online identity is not at all about modern or digital synthesizers, although I've had many throughout time. It's really just generally not my thing, especially since I've gotten more and more into analog. So when the Microfreak came out, I was at the Arturia booth at Synth Reactor, and Brian from Arturia was like, "You should play this thing." And I'm like, yeah. He's like, "No, seriously, sit down and play this right now." So I did. And then I was like, how is this all in this? And it has the perfect intersection of incredible functionality and a physical interface. So the Microfreak became one of my favorite synths because I'm like, it fills a region of sound that I want to be able to do. And of course, all of us were like, why don't they make like a Maxi Freak, But the Minifreak is, I'll certainly settle for it. It is
a step
so
towards.
powerful, and there's so much you can do with it, and it just sounds great doing things. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. What particularly about the Minifreak is kind of floating your boat? Is there a particular feature of it that really excites you?
Well, I definitely as I'm sure we'll talk about later, capacitive touch surfaces. I do enjoy them, but I also enjoy keys, and certainly having keys instead of capacitive is that's a nice feature. And I like the strips. Like anytime you have like a touch strip as a modulation source, I love it. And they've sort of incorporated their matrix brute macro concept into the strips, which I think is fantastic. It's kind of like the Pro 2, like being able to assign multiple modulations to something that you just have to touch. I love that.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of those macro sliders, and I like the fact that every time you select a voice, that they're automatically there rather than the pitch bend and mod. So the macros are straight there, and you can, let me just turn mine on, and it's that first sound in the preset bank, because it comes with some great presets, and what I'm seeing now is more and more people releasing preset banks. Like Jamie Morden from Geosynth has got a great bank he's just released, and there are others, but it's this first sound which I thought was just a great little plucky sound. I always do like a little plucky sound. As soon as you change that second macro, it becomes this lovely pad. So it's almost like the PolyBrute in a way, with its A and B, that you can have two voices in one patch. In fact, you could probably have more, because you can sit it somewhere in the middle, and then that second one does. It's just such a fun, and again, it's this expression, it's expressive capability that I think is really cool. So you're going to be doing you've started the series. The first episode in any of your series is the theme tune. You get that out of the way, and then you're straight into I think the episode 1 has released. How many episodes can we expect in this one, or do you not know yet?
Well, as someone pointed out, the minute that they saw, I don't remember who it was, but they commented and said, "Oh, the minute I saw Basic Waves as an episode, this is going to be a long one," because it's just one of the many oscillators present on the thing. And to be honest, if I can do a whole episode on a single oscillator function, that says something about the functionality present on the synthesizer to me. It's going to be hugely long. I don't know. I'm kind of I increasingly feel like I am the wrong person to show you how to use a sequencer, because, and I've said this before and people have complained about it, but it's like a sequencer is not a synthesizer. A sequencer is a metric means of generating events. And although you could certainly use it to control various aspects of a synthesizer or whatever, people want to know how to use the sequencer on a synth, and they want to know how to do that using the things that they would do, which most other synth demonstrators are really good at, showing people what they want to see in regard to how to use this sequencer. And I'm not, because I'll do some weird thing that has nothing to do with what other people are basically expecting or wanting to do. And also, I just kind of blow over things, because I'm like, this is just a thing that records events, which is awesome in itself, but it's kind of not. As you can see from my opening video, I didn't sequence anything except for that one sound. I didn't sequence that. That's a preset. And I put it in there kind of as a joke. I started playing it along with the song as a joke, because I don't use things like that. But I was like, oh, that sounds good. I'm putting it in there. But yeah, so there are a lot of sequencer functions on the Minifreak, and I'm kind of like, do I really demonstrate those? I'm really the wrong guy for that. I don't know. We'll see. But if I do, the thing is filled with sequencer functions. So even more videos. I have no idea how many videos this will entail.
I hope it's a lot, because I always learn great stuff from you. I think, I always think back to your SH101 videos, because that was, for me, that was a synth. That was a real kind of keystone synth in my early synthesizer awareness years, shall we say, and it was the one that I lusted after for years and years. And then when I eventually got the Benge version of it, I went straight to your series of videos and learned how to use that, because essentially it's identical. And so it was incredibly useful. And I've been playing around with the Minifreak and have programmed some sounds myself, but I will look to be learning a lot more from you, and because you kind of know what you're doing, really. So I want to ask you about that opening video where you've got yourself playing what is it, something like 9 or 10 parts. When you make those videos, so I want to know the process here. Are you, because you don't tend to use sequences, do you? You like to do everything live or record it straight to like a hard disk. You know, do you still have your VS, your Roland VS?
I have two of them. I have an 880 and a 1620, or whatever the.
And you always record straight to those, yeah. So are you then just filming yourself playing each part live and then synchronizing it all up in a video editor, or how do you do one of those videos?
Basically, it's always like this rush. I'm like, okay, I've got a bunch of videos. Okay, I'm going to put out, the series, and I'm like, oh crap, I need a theme. And many years ago now, I decided that all of my themes should be completely comprised of the synth itself, sometimes accepting drums. But so I'm like, okay, I've got to record something. And usually these themes, I do them very, very quickly. And I will basically come up with like a chord progression or something, or a cool sound or something. And then I will just go into GarageBand, which has historically been the only DAW I've really even worked with. And I'll just I'll assemble drums out of GarageBand loops, or I will program something on the Korg Triton or something. And then I'll just lay down a bass line, improvise it. And then I'll lay down chords on top of those, improvising them as well. And just go through it like that. I'll just keep finding sounds, and I'm like, this would fill a good space in this song. I'll use this preset somehow. And a lot of times they're just completely improvised, which is what happened with this. I was going to record the theme because I'm like, I got to have a theme and I need it right now. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, Mark, you've got it all set up. It's under the camera. Just shoot yourself recording these parts. And it was easy because, the most there were 2 takes. Actually, the sequencer thing took the longest to shoot because I had to hit it dead on the beat or it wouldn't be aligned. So that one took a number of takes. No. And it's also funny because I'm playing everything else, and then this thing, I'm just like, let's turn on this sound. Okay, cool. But yeah, basically, I just shoot all of them. And because I'm shooting with a digital camera, and I'm recording it digitally, the things just inherently line up. And I know what notes I played, so I just find the first key press and line it up with the first key sound on that particular track, and everything lines up.
Sure. Yeah. So countless episodes to come, we hope. What do you make of this feature of the second oscillator, where you can kind of use that as a filter as well? Because that's a really cool feature, isn't it? That is so weird. And I was baffled by it, and I had the keyboard for quite a while before I even dipped my toe into that, because I'm like, what does that mean? What happens if that is the case? And I did, I think, a couple of patches where I kind of screwed around with those weird filters. And there are also filter types that I'm completely unfamiliar with. And so, yeah, I think that's fantastic. You don't need everything doing everything it's capable of at all times. It's totally fine to sacrifice an oscillator so you can get this really cool effect, and I found that out. I'm like, yeah, the people at Arturia, I love their clever
their synthesis vision. It's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question about I want to get just your take on this, because something's going to happen. We want to see who gets it right. Have you noticed on the Minifreak at the back, so on if you're looking at the rear, it's on the right-hand side where the vent is, that it's like a series of holes, and 3 of those holes have screw threads in them. Have you noticed that yet?
No.
Take a look when you get back. Have a look and look at the grill at the back, and you'll see 3 of those holes have actually got screw threads in them, which says to me something is planned for this. And we've been asking everyone that's kind of had a go with the Minifreak what they think it is. My personal favorite is a modulation grip a la SH-101 Keytar style kind of thing. Others are thinking, oh, maybe it's another kind of gooseneck microphone, and maybe there's something, you know, like the Microfreak that had the vocoder capability kind of built in, but they didn't tell anyone. Any thoughts on what that might be?
I can't even imagine.
No.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. So.
Yeah, go and have a look. It's really interesting. And this is another thing I like about Arturia. They're always full of these little surprises. Have you played with Minifreak V at all? Because you're not really known to be a software guy, but have you used that at all for editing or anything like that?
I really haven't. No, and that's the thing. Like, if I have the physical thing that I can interact with, the odds of me then going into a software version, I just find that really, like, my whole gripe about software has never really been about software, because obviously it's so powerful and they've gotten to the point where it sounds so good. It's just the interface. I don't feel as creative sitting in front of a computer as I do in a room with an object I'm interacting with directly, so
yeah.
And I know people, like, obviously have controllers that they use in order to control software, but I don't know. Well, in fact, I have played with one that Kent was involved with, as I recall.
Oh yes,
which was amazing. But yeah, I just I have not used the software because I have the thing in front of me. I've messed around with a few software synths when I didn't have a physical version of it in front of me. But in general, there's something about electricity that excites me, and interacting with a direct object that is the thing. I don't know. It's probably some sort of psychological problem.
No, I get it. I would like to see what you think of it, though. Maybe that's, if for the last episode, maybe just see how you get on. Because my experience with it, I mean, I use both with equal measure. I know Kent does as well. And the fact that you've got literally a direct replica in software means it gives you so many extra possibilities. But yes, the Minifreak hardware itself is still the controller, but it means that I can stick it onto my laptop and have access to everything, and then just bring it back and replicate it or download the patches into them, into the hardware. And yeah, I just think it's a really clever thing. And we've seen more and more of this integration of software and hardware. Modular have been doing a lot of stuff with their editors and stuff, but they don't actually have the sound engine, and now this one does. And of course, it just opens up the. I don't know whether Arturia, because we were puzzled when Arturia released Minifreak V for everyone. I personally thought, and I know a lot of people thought, oh, it's a bit soon, isn't it? Straight after the hardware. And if people were sort of thinking, well, maybe after Christmas I'll pick up a hardware version, and then all of a sudden there's a software version that they can potentially, depending on their Arturia purchase history, get for like $50. So
right.
Are they cannibalizing their own market? But they must know what they're doing. So you'd hope. Talking of financial aspects, thank you, Dina, so much from the Tenacious DRP.
Yeah.
Thank you for your donation. It is so much appreciated. And of course, please do go and check out the Alan R. Perman Foundation website, and of course their YouTube channel, where I believe the first of the archives watch-alongs with Herbie Hancock, no less, is scheduled for sometime very soon. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Apologies, Dina. I know you'll kick my ass the next time you see me, and I look forward to it very much. Now, let's talk about your other recent video series. Is it still ongoing, the Theravox, or is that done now?
That is actually done. Yeah.
Okay.
That last one.
So tell us about the Theravox ET5. What actually is it?
Well, I mean, the Theravox it's basically a recreation. I mean, it's not a clone, but it's the concept of the Ond Martineau,
yeah,
one of the initial important electronic music instruments with some synthesis elements in it that was so interesting that it caught the eye of a variety of like composers at that time, and it became a really big thing. And so what Therovox has done is basically brought that performance concept into modern times, and they did it with an ET4. I can't remember. I did a demonstration of it in like 2014 or something, an earlier version, but this is a newer version that has a patch panel and several other changes that have really made it into a decent synthesizer at the same time as providing this very expressive interface, which is basically where you control the frequency of it with your finger in this ring connected to a string that controls the frequency of the oscillator. And interestingly, a lot of people don't know this, but the term stringer for a synthesizer, people often think that it's referring to a string synth, but it actually comes from this. A stringer was a string operated oscillator. And I remember like the first time I heard it was in Bob Moog's archives, where he was talking about doing the instrument for the Beach Boys so that they could perform Good Vibrations in a live setting. And they couldn't use, Tanner's electrotheremin. So Bob Moog was, he was working on creating them a theremin-like sounding instrument. And he kind of had the idea of doing a stringer at first, which was a string-operated oscillator, but then he went in another direction, the Melsonar. Anyway, but that was the first time I had heard of the term stringer, and that's what this is. And it's really it's a reasonable way to control an oscillator. It's hilarious that somehow lining up with a keyboard gives you the right effect when really it's a string that's turning, a pot back and forth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the button on the side, which allows you, in a very expressive way, very like acoustic instrument sort of way, the harder you press, the more amplitude you have. And it's a very reasonable means of controlling an electronic music instrument, although we've come to use other means more often. But then the combination of them makes you feel like you are playing a physical instrument that has electronic sound, and it's really an inspiring experience. But the ET5 then goes and adds great oscillators, great filter, and I have to say, and I told Mike this at Therovox, I'm like, this is one of the best filters I've heard in a very long time. And it's an 18 decibel per octave filter, but there's something about it. It has this warmth that like screams, this is an analog filter to me, that a lot of modern analog synths don't sound analog because they don't have the variability or even the faults that vintage analog had that gave the really great tonal aspects. But this one does. I was in love with that filter. Anyway, so basically you have this really expressive interface connected to a great sounding analog synthesis engine that has patchable elements that include some of these physical interfaces that you're using. It's really fantastic.
And are these? I've had some technical issues while you've been talking there, so I'm just trying to get my head around those. So these look very handmade. Are these built to order? Is it kind of that level of kind of boutiqueness?
I get that impression. Yeah, I don't know what Mike's system is these days, but yeah, you get the impression because the wood it's not factory wood. Like someone is making, shaping this wood and everything, and they come off as a quality like musical instrument feel instead of a corporate production device.
Yeah, absolutely. I've lost the thing again. Sorry. YouTube is being an absolute pain. Or should I say my browser, I think, is being an absolute pain. I did have one of your videos queued up, but it seems to have gone walkabout. But if you want to check out Marc's Therovox ET5 series of videos and this rather remarkable machine, I've seen Ian Boddy play. There's another Ondes Martineau, I don't want to use the word clone, but inspired instrument, and it's dreamy. It's really, you know, that use of the, and it is going to get all those sorts of jokes. The finger in the ring. It's quite a remarkable form of expression, but one that you don't often see. So yeah, if you want to check that out, Automatic Gainsaver, of course, is the name of the YouTube channel. And of course, before that, you did this whole East Coast West Coast thing. You being contentious on the internet, who'd have thunk? Are you? So what was your whole thing with the East Coast West Coast thing? What was the message that you were trying to get across with that?
How much time do we have? No. As a person who, you know, worked with the Bob Moog Foundation and worked with Buchla, I was privy to a lot of history and a lot of functional elements and a lot of the notes and interactions of these two inventors. And I mean, I just became overwhelmed with how the internet and Eurorack culture, don't kill me, have sort of conspired to portray synthesizer history in this way that is not actually founded in what happened and what the intentions were or anything. So you will constantly see someone saying, well, you know, the Buchla paradigm is this and the Moog paradigm is this. And they'll list off factors of those paradigms that are simply not true. Like in Buchla, you don't use keyboards. And you know, and I'm like, wait, yes, you do. Even Don himself said, like, I have this quote of Don's where he's like, don't try and rope me into this idea that I don't use keyboards. I use keyboards. It's just that I think they're best used in certain ways. And then people will say, and, you know, Moog is always subtractive. And it's like, well, if you're just using an oscillator and a filter, kind of, yeah. But I mean, you can do additive synthesis with a Moog modular, and I have. Yeah. And so basically these shortcuts to help people understand what people eventually did with Moogs and Buchlas have become this sort of weird list of historical untruths. And so I originally wrote that for KnobCon, one of the great synthesizer conventions extant that everyone should attend in Chicago. Yep. Anyway, I wrote it for that, and I just thought, you know, I should put this on the internet at some point, because people need to realize that while it's totally cool to say, like, this composition aligns with what people have done with Moog, or this composition aligns with what people have done with Buchla, that's totally cool. But the reasons they use to explain that are so false, and it makes it hard for me teaching electronic music and synthesizer history to say, well, actually, yeah, none of you know, the, like, Buchlas aren't additive. Adding harmonics is not additive synthesis, although there is addition happening. Additive synthesis is a specific thing that you do, and this is not that, you know. So it's not like Buchla's additive, Moog is subtractive. It's like, well, you could do anything with either of them, you know. And Buchla's subtractive. I mean, the 292 it's a filter. There's a filter right in there. You know, it's like, you can't say it's subtractive or it's not subtractive when it's kind of an autistic thing, I guess. But I'm like, no, these things are not true. And here's what is true. But I know, like, the Eurorack paradigm of, you know, using sequencers to control various functions and having interacting sequencers to make real-time performances that are also compositions, very much a Buchla concept. Absolutely. So I can completely see when people are starting to say, you know, what we're doing in Eurorack is more like Buchla than it is like what people did with Moog synthesizers in the past. And so it's like, there is a thing that's true there, but it's just that the details are often lost because people make exaggerated claims to separate the two inventors' work, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a great series, and there's 15 parts, so it is something you can consume all in one go if you have, you know, all of that time, or you can do it, you know, maybe one a night for a couple of weeks. But it really does, it keeps you engaged. Of course, all of this stuff is available to everyone free of charge. which is even better. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. Steve W says, thank you for venturing to correct the record. Asio says, oh, finally someone's saying it. Lady Aptitude, who's full of the gags, East Coast boys and West Coast girls. Love that.
That's very good.
Our good friend Manny Fernandez, the East West series was really well done. Shows the blur and blending of ideas really went back and forth. Asio Head is actually going to go and watch that later. Good on you. And tell it like it is. David Surchek, love this discussion. So there you go. It's people love what you do. So talking of loving what you do, I need Marc Doty to just explain this to me, okay? Just I'm going to show this, and then I want your pure explanation for what this is. Okay, so I'll stop the embarrassment there. You might not be embarrassed by that at all. I might be making a complete song. You were brave to put something like that on the internet. If I discovered something of me in '88 performing music live, I would not put it up anywhere at all.
It was a real shame, wasn't it, that there was somebody building a shed backstage while he was playing?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It was
where
really
was that
unfortunate.
taken? Where was that taken?
That was actually a college talent show.
Oh, wow.
In 1988, I was in the music program, and I was getting a degree in composition and music education. But at the same time, I had been trying for a number of years to get a recording contract. So I was like, I need this college to sort of know like what I actually do, and I'm not like bookishly going from class to class. So I wrote that song with an Ensoniq ESQ1 and Alesis HR16, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to perform this. So like everyone else at that talent show, they're like bringing up a guitar, or it's just a couple of people or whatever, and then they pretty much had to stop the show while I'm up there hastily trying to connect the MIDI between these two things, and it was preposterous. I had to set up those Tama drums, which I in my memory they were Simmons, but apparently they're Tama. Anyway, I'm setting up drums, like trying to get that all set up. Anyway, it was preposterous, but it went over super well. I also later I played. They had a big giant Steinway Grand that also was sitting there in the dark, that they had to roll out for me. It was
what a diva.
I need all of this, but people really loved it. There was one pair of underwear thrown onto the stage, which
wow,
kind of a conservative.
I heard
college,
the guy's still
so
looking for them. Yeah.
I'm still wearing them today. No,
it's spilled his coat down.
Yeah. I have to say that I've always thought that you and Trent Reznor were separated at birth. Because can I get some support here? Am I the only person that thinks that Mark and Trent have and that video? Certainly here, brothers from the same mother.
Yeah, there's a thing going on there.
There's definitely something going on there.
There's something going on there.
Yeah, especially when you have like copious beard, not just like the short thing, but when you have, definitely. I just thought that was brilliant, and I thought they were Simmons drums to start with, but now when you look at them, yes, the bottom half is longer than the top half, and I think I didn't realise they were Tama, but There you go. So you had the Tama drums, you had the HR-16, the N-Sonic. Anything else on stage with you there? Was that it? Was that your rig?
That was it, yeah.
That was it. See, there you go. That's all you
Did
need,
Nick
kids.
Rhodes ever get his wig back?
What?
Did Nick Rhodes ever get his wig back?
No.
That jacket, though. That jacket,
Keep that
though.
souvenir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
just
know.
like a smoking jacket, but to me it reminded me of Prince. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
And of
love
course,
that.
you are a huge Prince fan, and of course, did a stint at Paisley,
Yes.
which I think we've spoken about before. What do you think of the reissue series so far? Being a Prince fan, are you happy with what they've done?
I have, as amazing as this is, like I have not been following it.
Oh, wow.
I don't really, and this is a crime. I have so little time to listen, and since now I live in like the tiniest town in America, I don't do any driving, which is typically where I would do all of my listening. So like, I'm not listening to anything, which is a crime.
Terrible stuff. Well, hopefully this year we'll see some more stuff coming out. I don't know what's been sort of mentioned. I'm hoping for maybe a full-on Gold Experience sessions and the whole thing, because that was around the time you were there, of course.
Yeah. I'd like them to release more Gold Experience footage because I might be in something.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, exactly. Talking of bands released, I'm just going to throw this in there because I was massively disappointed at 5 p.m. UK time today. 7 days ago at 5 p.m, Depeche Mode put out this timer, this countdown timer, 7 days countdown timer to 5 p.m. today. So every Depeche Mode fan in the world, including myself, was sat here waiting for 5 o'clock so we could hear the new Depeche Mode single. And it turns out that the countdown was for another countdown, and the single doesn't actually come out till next Thursday. And let me tell you, Depeche Mode fans are pissed. Massively.
No
Absolutely
shit,
massively. Yeah, I was speaking to our mutual friend Matt Evans, who is a big Depeche Mode fan. He's had even the latest album name tattooed on his arm, and we were both like seething. So yeah, really disappointing, because I wanted to talk about that today, because Depeche Mode, obviously massive electronic music legends, and a new album, especially after the passing of Fletch, was always going to be a poignant moment, and they've just kind of kept us waiting another 6 days, which shut up, Siri. Talking of Prince, yeah, Lady Aptitudes reminded me that the Camille album is supposed to be coming out soon, and that's being done by Jack White on Third Man Records. He's got the license to actually release the Camille album, which of course was part of the whole Sign of the Times thing. So that's supposed to be coming really soon. I know he spoke about it on one of the American talk shows. I think it might have been Colbert. He mentioned he was all like really excited. So yeah, that was cool. And of course, yeah, Synth Alex just reminded me the whole Kevin Smith story about his time with Prince is absolutely hilarious. If you go and check that out on YouTube, I mean, Kevin Smith, one of the greatest storytellers this planet's ever seen, and his story about Prince is remarkable, unbelievable, yet completely believable in so many ways. I only ever got to see him once. Unlike you, Mark, he didn't run in the opposite direction. But I was going to say, when I say see him, I've seen him in concert loads of times. But it was at the beginning, or the sound check, Hammersmith Odeon, circa 2000 and something. I think it was the One Night Alone tour. And we all filter in, all the fans, the fan club members got early access. So we all filter in, and we look round there in this green velour jumpsuit with a big roll-up neck and these massive heels. Is Prince with his feet up on the chair, like 2 rows behind me, saying hello to everyone. It was just the most incredible thing. And I just went all cotton-mouthed and didn't say a thing. It was just like, you're in the presence of deity, really. Anyway, so let's get rid of that off the screen. What should we talk about now? By the way, yeah, kudos. If you want to go and watch that video, it's all on the Automatic Gainsay website. Real original 80s music performed in the 1980s by Mr. Marc Doty. Well done. It's good fun, and it's not a bad song. It's not a bad
thank
song.
you.
Yeah. Right. Let's see. What have we got? Let's bring Kent in, because Kent wanted to talk about this. And you've been a bit quiet, so earn your keep, mate.
All I did was mention it.
Yeah, well, now you've got to talk about it at length for at least 15 minutes.
No problem.
Spitfire Audio seem to be sort of like, I wouldn't say they release things all the time, but every week there's something, a little new, a little update here, a little labs release there. And now we've got a new library from Spitfire, which of course I believe will be of the same sort of quality as everything else that they've done. And I'm filling while I try and find the website. There it is. It is this, which is Albion Colossus. What's different about Albion Colossus, Kent Spong?
Right. Well, for those of you familiar with Albion, you'll know that this is going to be a stonker. For those of you not familiar with Albion was the initial library that they did that covered all of the instruments within the orchestra. Beautifully recorded. Now, what Colossus is it like they've re-recorded everything again,
Right.
And fixed a few things and stuff like that, but added the whole I love Hans Zimmer aspect underneath. It's almost as though, and this has happened before, I believe, with Spitfire, where he's phoned up and gone, look, I want a library that does this, 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 and this, and they go, yes, sir, and go off and do it. And then it's released, and then they go, well, we'll sell this as well. And, Hans Zimmer piano, Hans Zimmer this. This is kind of that thing, but I don't. What they've done is they've taken that idea of the way Hans would do a score, or the way Two Steps from Hell would do a score. So there's a lot of presets, should we say, for want of a better word, that give you a bigger, fuller sound, and sometimes with like almost subsonic synth bass underneath and stuff like that. So it's your instant epic film score kind of library.
Yeah, because Albion contained a series, didn't it? Like there was English drama, or there were all these kind of thematic Albion packages.
All they were special articulations and scripting instruments to add whistles, bells, tinsel, and dog collars basically onto the actual initial Albion library. So they were just like literally they were patches or additional library, but they were given a whole separate package status. But it was all part of one thing. So Colossus is everything basically, but souped up as well. So they put a 7.5 litre V8 in there, sort of thing.
Yeah,
got rid of the Austin engine.
Because it contains, according to the hype here, 2 orchestras, a chamber orchestra and a symphony orchestra, 11 horn sections, 100... I say horn sections, it's got a picture of a tuba above it. That could be string sections as well, I guess. It just says sections.
Tuba what? Toothpaste?
Come on.
I'm here all week.
150 techniques. And this one, translate this for me. New scale, depth, and hype features. What's a hype feature?
A hype feature is when you open the box, it comes with a little special hat. That's
it.
That's it.
I genuinely thought you were going to inform me what a hype feature was.
Me? Inform?
According to this, it says...
That's Mark's job.
Well, true. All new features including scale, depth, and hype, expressive controls to help you build intensity and push sounds even further.
Yeah, they've given a lot of CC controls to a lot of aspects of the library. Have they given it MPE? No.
That's a no then.
Yeah, but MPE control over sample library is monumentally difficult to do.
Yes,
I have been informed. So, but so this is if you're into your, big sort of like.
Yeah, the trailer for this was quite impressive, I thought. I'm just trying to find it. What was I going to say? It's just completely... Is this the first Albion with the Spitfire custom interface, or did they do ones before that?
Yes. Ironically, it's also goes into Contact 7 because they've changed the way Contact 7 works.
Okay, so you can use it in both if you.
Yeah.
The other one. And the
Yeah.
other. Okay.
Yeah. Weirdly enough.
Because I mean, I'm a big fan of the Spitfire interface. I think it's very simple, straightforward, and easy to kind of get your head around. Contact, not so much. But yeah, it's good. Let's have a listen and a look at what it can do.
Hi guys, I'm Oliver Puricelli from.
You shut up, mate. Where are we? I'm just trying to get my thing back here. There we go.
The way you treat your guests.
I know, it's terrible. He'll never come on again. No, it was nice. It was nice, but I can see exactly where you're coming from when you say it's like Hans Zimmer phone that says, "Give me this, give me that. It's the box." There you go.
Brilliant impression.
Was it? I don't know. No.
Yeah.
I must refrain from doing that, especially when he eventually comes on the show.
He's coming. He's coming.
How long have we been saying that?
Mate, tell me about it.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah. No, I've got him. He said yes.
So, have you had your dirty mitts on this yet? Did you succumb? Because you're a sucker for these sort of things, aren't you?
It's 102 gig. It's been downloading since 4 o'clock. It finished about half an hour ago during the show. And I'll get in there and have a crack at it. So
well, maybe you tell us a bit more about it next week.
We should make it sort of like a one-stop shop, because normally what you do is I would load up something like Albion, I'd pick out certain things, and then I'd have to fire up other libraries to apply the more, shall we say, Hollywood aspect. Mm-hmm. Now it's a one-stop shop because you've got the chamber, which you can do the quiet stuff, the romantic or thoughtful or sad stuff, and then when you want to do the whole, robot sheep leaping through walls, you got the big stuff and all that. So it's one-stop shop for that. So I mean, it's not game changing or anything like that, but it is quite a nice sounding library apparently. So it has its market, and I'm sure it will appeal to that very well. We mentioned Buchla earlier, the whole West Coast, East Coast thing that Marc did a series on. Of course, Marc, as you said, until recently was working at Buchla. Funny enough, today, Buchla announced something new from their stable. And let me just bring this up to tell people all about this. So this is the Buchla LEM218 version 3. There we go. Got it right. No, it will.
Indeed. And there it is. And for the uninitiated, you can see that does very much look like a Buchla easel type keyboard. This capacitive touch type keyboard with a few controllers and patch points across the top. But what this is exactly what I just said. It is a controller. There is no synthesis going on in here whatsoever. But when I was writing this article this afternoon and going through the specifications, thinking, this is pretty damn cool, because not only does it give you that kind of amazing touch keyboard that a lot of people really do like, with all of its expressive capability, it's also polyphonic. It features MIDI, and you look at this is the side connections here. So you've got a couple of 3.5mm MIDI ports on there. So this is complete. You can connect this to anything that's MIDI. it even dares to have a modern USB-C port on there as well. Some kind of dedicated connector. Maybe Mark can tell us what that might be later. There's your power supply, but it also spits out CV and gate, and of course all of that stuff is wonderful if you want to connect it up to your Eurorack and other such things. And it then gives you all the the controls on the top, and you can patch from this into other Buchla equipment or into other modular equipment. Let me just get some specification details here. So it features the keyboard features. It can spit out what is it? Let me get the my eyes are going funny as well. So it does all of the MIDI data, CV data, gate data, but it also works as this wonderful kind of interface. So you can connect MIDI gear to this and send, play your MIDI gear into this, and then it will spit out CV and gate from its CV and gate ports into other things. So it's almost like a MIDI to CV. Well, it is like a MIDI to CV interface. I'm not saying almost, like it is. Sustain pedal on there as well. What else? There was 4 3.5mm jacks for 1 volt per octave pitch, 0 to 8 volts pressure, touch strip voltage, gate outputs. I mean, it's a real kind of Swiss Army knife, as I said in the article. But it does come at a price. It's a slightly expensive $1,300 or what, $1,299 US. But it's going to be a thing of great beauty and well made as well. Mr. Doty, because you only recently left their employ, surely you must have some inside information on this, and maybe can tell us a bit more about it.
Well, yeah, and since I don't work there and I never signed any agreements, I can tell you all the it is. When we were having it tested, the deaths that occurred, they were rare. I mean, they weren't that common. No, it is a great instrument, and Buchla has worked really hard on it. In some cases, harder than was necessary in order to get it to where it's at. Because we really wanted to, bring the LEM218, which had been out for quite a while, up to date and add some features. And a lot of features were added, including like the polyphonic aspect, which incidentally is only in regard to MIDI out.
Yes.
CV wise, there's no polyphony. That just came like pretty much at the last moment, because I always said, not to say that I influenced, but it wasn't my idea, but I've always thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to have a capacitive polysynth, like be able to play chords on, the 218. And I was like, and I have asked several times over the years, I'm like, since this has MIDI out, isn't it possible? Because so many MIDI out, so many monophonic synths that have MIDI out, you can play polyphonically on them through the MIDI. It was like, why aren't we doing that? And it was because it wasn't initially designed to, but they changed the code so that it could. And that's a really cool feature. But it's been like all of the different efforts to improve the capacitive interaction, because capacitive touch is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And some, in earlier versions of the 218, sometimes the electricity in people's homes, like it was dirty electricity, and then the capacitive element is just like, no, this is confusing, this isn't going to work. So we get people who are like, why? This is broken. And it's like, well, it's not actually broken, but if you got a power condition, it'd be fine, know. But I
think
it's really
Jim Glue, one of our frequent guests, had a very similar experience with the Arturia Minifreak, in that it just wouldn't work for him for the same sorts of reasons. Like, it would only work if he used some sort of, I think I might be wrong, but like one of these USB power bricks. So yeah, it's clearly a thing with these kinds of keyboards. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and no, absolutely, and that's interesting to hear, because my experience with the Minifreak, it's like this thing is unsyncable. So it's interesting that the capacitive means of interaction does have inherent in it some limitations that you have to find tricks to overcome.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun to be able to play, a keyless instrument in a keyed way. And I've heard people complain about that. It's like, I've even heard people think like capacitive keys are the cheap way of making keys. And it's like, oh, buddy, it is not cheap.
It really isn't.
Oh, man.
No.
But it's a lot of fun. It's very expressive and a lot of fun to play. And the inclusion of the strip is such a great idea and makes it,
because that can be used again for lots of different things, not just bending and modulation, but other aspects can be assigned. And it's got a built-in arpeggiator. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, and usually, if someone contacted me saying, there's something wrong with the capacitive element of my 218. It's playing really strangely. It's skipping. And like when you press a note, like a note doesn't necessarily happen. And the first thing I always say is, okay, before we go any further, turn down your arpeggiator to 0. Turn it off, And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, now it works. Because often people would have the speed of the arpeggiator all the way down, and then they'd have the arpeggiator up. So they wouldn't know it was actually arpeggiating, just very, very slowly.
Excellent stuff. I'm really interested to see what people are going to do with this, because it has not just the CV connections, but it has traditional MIDI, albeit through 3.5mm. I don't know whether it comes with adapters. I would have thought it would have done. It's not like TRS MIDI is a rare thing anyway. But it'd be interesting to see how people are using this with more traditional MIDI instruments, and how that works. And I know Ian in the chat asked if it does MPE. I couldn't see anything on there. Would you know about that?
No,
so
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Well, no, you don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know much about that, but yeah, as I recall, at the last point I heard of it, it was not going to be doing MPE.
Cool. Okay. So, it's interesting that, we're seeing more of these kind of expressive controllers coming out, and this one, is one of the originals, the OGs. 73 was the first 218, so 50 years ago. Wow, God, I feel old. And of course, the LEM is, and I don't know, maybe you can shed some light on this. In my brief research today, the LEM in the name of this module is the Lunar Explorer module. It's kind of a dedication to excursion module.
Lunar excursion module. Yeah.
That's the one. So why?
There was an effort to sort of name products, Buchla products, sort of to connect the products to Don's history of having worked with NASA. So a lot of the Buchla products, especially in the 2010s, had NASA-related code names and references, like the Spider and Snoopy, and this, anything with LEM was, of course, a NASA reference, and this is no different. And I'll point this out. This is a point of pride for me. I had a lot to do with the creation of this instrument, in that the Lunar Excursion module graphic that is on the end piece, that's me. I designed that.
Oh wow! Let's take a look at that in full color here. There we go. Just on the end.
There it is.
Nice.
Look at that. Parting
gift. It was a weird conversation, and we're like, shouldn't there be some sort of logo on there? And I'm like, okay. So I made that little thing, and they're like, okay, yeah. And I'm like, well, it's kind of big, but if it gets any smaller, it's not going to really work. And we just kind of slapped it on there. Oh, I also designed the box too. So the box art.
Cool. What is really this 10-pin connector?
That is a 10-pin connector. What's the next question? No, it is. I am not sure what all they have that connected to, but if you have a Buchla system, Buchla power boards often come with what we call H-series connectors, which are 10-pin connectors of that size. And you can, if you need to, power the LEM218 off of the power board in a Buchla system that has
yes.
the H
Also got the
series
CV and gate on
connectors.
it.
Yes, and I should point out, and this is probably obvious, but the CV gate stuff on the side is obviously volt per octave, but you can run MIDI into the 218 and then convert that to 1.2 volt per octave Buchla standard out of banana plugs on the front. So like it is an interface that converts MIDI to 1.2 volt per octave.
Yeah. It's a very clever thing. I mean, I saw it and I just thought, oh, here we go. It's a Buchla controller. They've just taken that element out of the easel and they're just going to market it. But there's some really clever shit going on. And I know somebody said, oh, look, Robbie's getting excited about CV. I'm just excited about a piece of gear that actually does way more than you kind of gave it credit for. What I would like to know, I don't know, you might have an answer for this. Does this work very well with the software Buchla easel that comes with the Arturia V collection? Does it play nicely? Can I get more of a Buchla easel experience using that software and this hardware?
I would say, now I can't really address MIDI control of software because I didn't have any software on my work computer.
Sure.
And I have not specifically used this to control software, but I'm always someone who, like, the whole concept of using a vintage instrument is using that instrument with the means that have traditionally controlled that instrument. Like, and this has always been kind of my problem with software versions of hardware instruments. You're not going to play that the way that you would play if you were standing in front of it and actually using the keyboard with all of its limitations or strangenesses or whatever, or the knobs or the way that you have to move in order to do a certain thing. And this has been one of the things, like with the ARP2600. I've always been like, if you're going to play an ARP2600, you kind of have to play it in real time to really get it to sound like an ARP2600. And I would say that would be the case with this as well. If you're using a LEM218 to control your Arturia Buchla software, I think you'd be getting a more authentic experience out of it.
I wonder if I could persuade somebody at Buchla to send me one of those just to try that out. It'll be because it's probably the least used plugin of the V collection in my experience. You know, I barely touch it because I just don't understand it, and I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to spend the time to learn. And I know that I would probably be rewarded in doing so. But give me something like that to mess around, it might sort of spur me on. So if you know someone who you know wouldn't mind sending one for review purposes, of course, that'd be rather cool. But yeah, it's available now.
You'd have to talk to Arturia for that.
Yeah, well, I suppose. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got the software. It's the hardware I want. But,
I'm definitely going to get one for
Daniel. Oh yeah, no, I can talk to someone about that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh yeah, nice one. Yeah, it's available now. It's $1,299 and it's on the Buchla website, which I think one of our lovely discerning moderators has already posted in the chat. But of course, the links will be down below in the description within 48 hours of the end of this video, just to give me a chance to recover. But yeah,
definitely got a job for one of them. I know a perfect market for that.
Mr. Miller, you said.
Yes, because there are a lot of in the last 2.5 years or so, there's been a lot of Synth AKS's keyboard packing up.
Okay.
And this will be an ideal replacement, especially since it does the volt per octave.
Yeah. Do you get much Buchla coming through your place?
I've had a couple of bits over the years. It's rare. It's rare to come through. Yeah, they are as interesting on the inside as they are on the outside.
So I hear. Yeah. I think was it Benge? Is it Whiteface? Is that? Am I? Because I'm very quite ignorant of. Or was that a Surge? I can't remember. Mark will tell me. He'll kick my ass now. Something Whiteface or Paperface or. What am I just talking bollocks? Yeah, probably.
Whiteface is Odyssey. Mark one Odyssey.
Yeah, no, it's paper.
Traditional.
Somebody in the chat, I'm sure Wagyu will probably pop up. There's something Paperface or Paper something. I don't know. Anyway. Let's move on before I completely embarrass myself. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about, let alone anyone else. there was only one other piece of synthesizer news this week of any kind of note. I mean, there's obviously a few other bits and bobs, but let me just bring this to everyone's attention. This came from Pittsburgh Modular, and lots of people are getting quite excited about this. And having listened to the demos, it's a very, very nice thing. But this is not my kind of, this is not my ballpark. This is the Taiga, the 3 oscillator analog wave folding paraphonic. Oh my god, there's that word. Powerhouse. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a wonderful thing, and some, it's got huge amounts of kind of patching capability in there. And there is a trend for this kind, more of this kind of semi-modular stuff in here. Mark, are you familiar with this and what it does? Have you heard this or had a chance to get your hands on one?
I know Richard,
Okay.
and to be honest, like with all of his celebration of the analog aspect of this just sort of popped into my feed a while back, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I'm like, I should look into this. So I'm harassed. It looks like an interesting thing, and I know Richard does good work. So yeah, I'm kind of fascinated by it. I'm delighted that people are still doing things that are analog. So. Because I keep waiting for everyone to finally get sick of analog and stop doing it, which I think most people don't even know why we did analog. But but yeah, so it looks like a really interesting piece of gear, and I know they do great work, so I'm kind of interested in it.
I mean, I wish I could sort of really talk in depth with some knowledge about this stuff, but this really isn't my thing, so I can't. When I first saw like 3 oscillator desktop, I'm thinking, oh, is this just like a Minimoog type thing? But there's a lot more going on in this, and some of the demos. Well, let's just have a listen to this one here. Let's bring this up.
Inspired by nature and driven by the goals of pushing analog synthesis technology forward. Taiga is a showcase of our most creative and exciting new ideas. The sound of Taiga can be attributed to 3 uniquely Pittsburgh innovations. These enable us to not only create sounds that we would traditionally expect from an analog monosynth, but also to explore new sonic textures and performance possibilities. First, the signal path begins with 3 huge analog oscillators and our custom array of cascading wave shapers. New technology in these wave shapers enables us to fold previously unfoldable waves, unlocking new timbres and deeper sonic complexity.
We'll leave it there because it does go on. But yeah, sounds. I mean, apparently the entire soundtrack was created using one of these, obviously multi-tracked. I want to know. The only question I have about that video is: was that deer in the background real, or was there some kind of stuff going on there? Because I've never known a deer to get that close to humans and not do a runner or try and extinguish
I think there's
life.
skullduggery going on there.
There
I
is.
mean, even the advert's got the picture of the tiger, and then it's got a picture of a bear.
A bear. I know. It's odd.
But it's a bear. That's not a tiger.
That's what I'm saying.
It's stripy.
But it does. I mean, it is completely modular according to them. So you can literally, just patch and reroute anything you like, and I guess then build it into other systems. But I can see that appearing in lots of people's studios. It does sound very, very nice.
I haven't looked closely enough yet to define whether it is in fact paraphonic, but I'll get on that. So
yeah, I kind of didn't want to poke that bear.
that tiger, don't poke
bear,
that tiger.
indeed, yeah. Or the tiger, indeed, yes. No, it's an interesting thing, and it is a bit of a slow news week, but yeah, it retails for $799.99 US, and is available from the Pittsburgh Modular website, and also places like Thomann and the rest of the stuff on there. So nice to see, nice to hear as well. Right, so I think that kind of like that's it in terms of news. We've got about 20 minutes to fill. Anything you want to discuss or talk about, or can you get off your chest at all? I tell you what, we haven't done before we get to it. We haven't actually spoken about the elephant that's in the or not in the room. shall we say.
She's
Mr.
downstairs.
Ben Simpson isn't here.
Oh.
We didn't even acknowledge that at the beginning, or if I did, I've forgotten. Ben's out gigging. He's earning some money. He's doing some work. I don't know where he is tonight, but if you're anywhere near him, you'll hear him. He's just done up his one of his mobile trolley things with the mixers and stuff in, because remember he had his laptop down sort of like ankle level and was causing him some grief. So yeah, he's had to rearrange that. So hopefully everything technical has gone according to plan, because you know that as soon as you start unplugging things and plugging them back in, something's going to go wrong. So what's on your radar, Mr. Doty, apart from the Minifreak series, which I'm guessing, how far into that are you now? How many episodes have you filmed so far?
5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, and I always release things onto Patreon before I release them out into the wild. So if you're really interested in seeing these, you can certainly visit my Patreon. But I've only done 4, and I've got to get into that. I'm sort of bolstering my Patreon and making it act more like Patreon is supposed to. So I'm expanding that and doing a whole bunch of video there. So it's kind of interfering with my shooting of the various Minifreak stuff. But yeah, the Minifreak's going to take up a lot of time. And after that, I'm not sure. I certainly want to demonstrate Christine's Prophet 12, because, as you might know, the Pro 2 is another one of my favorite synths of all time. I would never part with the thing. It does everything a synth I've ever wanted to do, including sounding at times more analog than analog can even sound, which is amazing because it has digital oscillators. But man, the thing is astounding. But yeah, I definitely want to shoot a demo of the Prophet 12, which obviously won't benefit any company, but it's definitely a thing that people need to realize. This was one of the great polyphonics. But
so obviously you're no longer working for Buchla. What does the future hold for you? You mentioned there about making the Patreon page work better and hopefully generate some sort of income there in exchange for your marvelous content. Anything else in the pipeline that we can expect from you in 2023?
Gosh, yeah. I'm doing a number of things. I'm starting to start writing music for licensing. And I kind of would like to get back into scoring. There is this is purely speculative at this time. There is a synthesis icon that I am currently trying to badger about potentially working with, but I'm not going to say who it is or what. But it'd be really cool if something could come to pass in that way. Wow. So I've been with Moog, I've been with Buchla.
Who's next?
There's no Boda synthesizers, unfortunately. Kent loves Boda, as I recall. So it's I don't know. I've got to find another synth icon to work for.
Got to go for the full synthesizer top trumps in that regard. So it's more videos. I'm intrigued now. I want to know who this synthesizer icon is. Well, trust we will grill him after the show. Obviously, we will do it in complete secrecy, but we will be grilling him afterwards. Will you be doing any trade shows this year? Because we've got Superbooth, we've got NAMM. There's obviously other things going on. Are you planning to travel around?
I'd love to. So far, I think I might be representing SEG Sound Labs at NAMM. I hope that's a thing that's going to happen. There was some talk of it, especially with the cool stuff that they are doing with modules right now. I don't have anything for Superbooth, which means, the last Superbooth was the one where I had COVID and was trapped in a hotel room the whole time. But yeah, I would love to go to Superbooth. So if any companies out there would like to have Marc Doty demonstrating your stuff at Superbooth, talk to me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. At some point, I'll probably just go to them on my own. But at this point, not yet.
Cool. Okay, well, yeah, I was hoping to do Super Booth last year, and then of course, kind of changed my mind sort of late in the day, and then found out you were going, and then was kicking myself because it was a great chance to hang. And then, of course, hearing that you got trapped in the hotel because you tested positive when you landed. So in a way, I didn't feel so bad, but I felt bad for you. So it was kind of a double-edged thing. But Ben and I will be at Super Booth this year. We're just finalising details and plans and travel arrangements and accommodation and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be out and about with definitely with the proper ProSynth Network branding on. So looking forward to that, because Super Booth is rapidly becoming probably the show to be at. Certainly on the continent of Europe, it's getting the sort of reputation that only other shows have had in the past. Looking forward to getting my hands on Osmos. Have you had the chance, the delight to play one of those yet?
They brought the Osmos prototype to Synthplex, where I was doing a presentation on Buchla, and they hurried me up to a hotel room to play it. And I was like, and this was just the prototype, but I was instantly in love, because as you might know, I am a Hawken Continuum obsessive. Yes. And so this was like, it had all the things that I love about the Hawken Continuum, but it had keys, so my fingers naturally knew where they were supposed to be without me having to watch them so closely to keep them in line. So I have not played the production model, but it is absolutely astoundingly beautiful. And of course it has a lot of the sounds from the Hawken Continuum, which I use constantly, because they are some of the best synthesis I've ever experienced. And I want to play in Osmos, the production model, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Talking of the Continuum, we mentioned this last week. There's ContinueCon, which is happening in Lisbon this year. I guess no plans to go to that?
I would definitely harass people into getting me there. Although all of my friends who are Continuum users they're so much better than I am as far as actually performing with it. Like, I can't really, other synthesizers I could be like, hey, you need me to do this. But like with the Continuum, I am not among the best Continuum users. So like, I kind of have to be like, I would love to go. And I have, of course, been to ContinueCon before, and it's absolutely fantastic to attend. But there's no way I can get to Lisbon at this point.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trek, I guess. But yeah, interesting to see that, of course, that's going to expand this year with the inclusion of, they're bringing the Osmos into the family, so to speak. So there'll be this kind of focus on all of those kinds of instruments. So yeah, very cool stuff. Kent, anything planned in your world that's going to be exciting, interesting, intriguing that you might be taking?
Oh, well, Monday I'm taking on Sadiq Khan.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, in a round of 12?
In a round of fisticuffs.
Yeah.
About the Mustang.
Oh, okay. Something to do with emissions, maybe.
No, it's everything to do with its registration.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, it's here. It's registered as built and registered at the 2nd of January, 1973, which is 48 hours too old to be exempt.
What?
Yeah, 48 hours. But it transpires that on the registration documents, it said that it was originally registered and owned by somebody in the States in 72.
Oh, well, that puts it over then.
Yeah. So, but because their database says she's a 73, and we're saying it's a 72, blood will be spilt.
I see.
Because otherwise it's £12.50 every time I start it.
Wow.
So.
And I thought my tax was high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
well,
and of course also because it's, you have to use the choke and you have to let it warm up and all that, especially in this weather. And new problems have arisen. They've passed a law where it is now illegal to park on the road, even outside your own house with the engine running.
Really?
Yep, first person's just been done with it today.
Wow.
The new law, you cannot idle your car.
Odd.
Wow.
That's very odd.
So,
I get a warning from my car if I like start my car up and it's a little bit cold, so I've just got the blowers on to demist it. My car tells me, it says, eco tip, try not to sit with your car running idle. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's fucking cold. I'm just trying to warm everything up.
yeah, well, it's now illegal,
That's weird, yeah.
and you can get that done for it.
Wow.
But in other news, Mark, I need to ask you. You're sort of like central US now, aren't you?
I'm no, West Coast.
You are West Coast. It's just that, have you seen the Chinese surveillance balloon today?
No, I haven't. The question
It's not
is,
a surprise.
has the Chinese weather balloon seen me?
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah,
Because apparently
it's-
America's been losing their shit today over that.
Yeah, we're all really worried about the balloon seeing us, and what are the Chinese up to? I don't want them to see what I'm doing in my yard. What are they going to do with that information? How am I in danger? I need to know.
It could be dropping all sorts of, I don't know,
That-
sweeties on you.
There was they said they didn't want to shoot it down because of the risk of debris. I'm thinking this was over Montana. I mean, the vast tracts of open space with nothing. Surely just shooting.
Yeah, you could drive for like 6 hours ago.
I just want. What about Skylab? Like, we let a whole space station fall to the Earth and no one was worried about it, but this weather balloon poses a threat. Come on.
Exactly. Of course, the Chinese are saying it is a weather balloon and not a. I mean, like the Chinese have got lots of spy satellites. There's nothing they couldn't see with a spy satellite that they would see with a balloon. So yeah, it's funny.
I don't think you do it with a balloon anyway, really.
Well, they're quite complex things. I mean, they were on the news. They were telling us about how it all, because when you look at it, it's got these like satellite-style solar panels, and then they showed its flight path, and I'm thinking, how can you control a balloon? But apparently, you can. You can actually control the direction of a balloon. So, who knew? Who knew indeed? So yeah, what have we got? Oh, we got some guests to announce. We've actually started racking up. Our first we had Dr. Mike on the first show of the year doing our predictions, so we'll see what happens there. Of course, Mark is our first proper official guest of 2023. But we do have some other people coming on the show, and let's tell you who they are. So next week, I've been trying to get this lady onto the show for a very, very long time, and she. We were talking about it online the other day, and she said, I might feel a bit intimidated because Kent's on the show. And I'm thinking, really? That's odd. But she's probably one of the leading synth techs, particularly on the west coast of the United States. Her name is Ali Cassidy, and she runs Synthetic Dreamscapes. So in between her day job as a senior manager at Apple, she maintains, repairs, restores loads of synthesizers and has had her hands on some amazing bits of gear. So she's coming on the show next week. Finally, I'm so glad that we've got her coming on. And maybe next week we can talk to her about Ireland, because she hails from the Emerald Isle. And of course, tonight, John Lydon is competing to be Ireland's Eurovision entry. In 2023 in Liverpool later. Yeah, get that. So I'd like to get her viewpoint of John Lydon, Public Image Limited, representing the Republic of Ireland in Eurovision. But yeah, so Ali Cassidy is coming on so next week. And then the week after that, we have another first timer. You might know him as BG Ollie. He was in the chat room earlier, but Ollie Langs is coming on the show. Ollie Long, sorry, is coming on the show, and he's this amazing guy who lives in the Republic. So there's definitely an Irish thing going on here. So Kent, you'll feel right at home.
That's right,
so Ollie hails from France, but has lived in the Republic for about 30 years now. built up a reputation as doing banjo covers of video game music and Deadmau5 covers just with banjos, and he's sickeningly talented. But he's also got a penchant for vintage computers, such as the MSX range of computers. He's a big arcade video game fan, has his own little arcade at home as well. He repairs synthesizers. He's just recently restored a couple of DXs. So yeah, he's such a lovely person. And ladies, and maybe some gentlemen too, he's got the most incredible voice that will just have you melting. It's just this wonderful blend of French and Irish, and it's astounding stuff. And he's such a nice guy, so we're really happy to get Ollie onto the show as well. So we'll talk about all things musical and vintage computers and sequencing with Ataris, and because I think he's actually building an Amiga from scratch using these new boards and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that. And we've got lots of others coming up, but those are the next couple of guests that we've got confirmed for you. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and then the little bell, because then you'll get notifications of when all of these shows come on. And of course, it's every Friday anyway. And I think next week we've got Ben back. So I think that kind of about wraps everything up this end, unless anybody else has got anything they want to say or get off their chest. Are we all good? Yeah, sounds good. Mark, thank you ever so much for coming back on the show. It's such a pleasure to have you, as always. Do come on again sometime soon. Let us know how you're doing.
Absolutely.
And everybody go to the Automatic Gainsay YouTube page, where you'll find an absolute ton of great content from the past, but also the new stuff with the Theravox, and of course now the Minifreak, which is turning out to be probably one of the most exciting new synths in recent times. So Mark's series of that will continue over there. Don't forget that also, while I think about it, the Alan R. Perlman Foundation's Archives is kicking off on the 9th of February, which I believe is next Thursday, with a watch-along interview with Herbie Hancock, the great Herbie Hancock. I saw a video today. Somebody posted it on Twitter, and it's a clip of Miles Davis, a young Miles Davis, all black and white, and apparently Herbie's just out of shot on the piano, and Herbie does something, and Miles is upset, and the look that he gives Herbie Hancock is unbelievable. Yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah, Miles just kind of visually lost it for a second there. It was rather cool. But yeah, Herbie will be on the Archives show coming up on the channel, on the Alan R. Perlman Foundation channel, this coming Thursday, the 9th. Jamie's back this week, as is Ranzi, I believe. So Ranzi will be on tomorrow from 1 p.m. UK time. Mm-hmm. Jamie has a new starting time whilst Dom is away of 7 p.m. on the Sunday. So those two shows will keep you going throughout the weekend. Kent, are you doing anything of your show at all soon?
I might do one, do a show. Possibly tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Possibly, unless there's something going on. If there's an EMOM or a hardware jam or something going on, then I probably won't. I don't want to walk on any toes.
No,
if one can help it.
Indeed. I won't be able to make that one because I'm out seeing China Crisis again. Yeah. Remember them?
Yeah, it's hovering over America at the moment, isn't it?
That deserves a, or should it be a, what is it? This one.
That one.
Yeah.
Or possibly the one with the crickets.
Or the crickets, yeah.
The crickets one. Try the cricket one.
There we go. So I'm off to see China Crisis tomorrow, so I won't be able to, because then when I get home I've got to go to bed because I've got to take my daughter to work at stupid o'clock on a Sunday morning, which reminds me I've actually got to go and pick her up this evening.
It's stupid o'clock at night.
Just to say, I saw Young Fathers not last night, the night before. Three of them. They're a great band. If you're not aware of Young Fathers, go and search for them. Three guys from Scotland who make the most incredible music and noise using such things as on stage the other night they had the Syntrix, that big white thing with a grid, and it's just they literally left it playing at the end and just went off stage, and this thing is just going, and it's just making this kind of wonderful oscillating droney type thing, and the audience just sat there transfixed, didn't move, and I'm thinking, wow, the synthesizer's doing this is incredible.
Missing a trick.
They had that. They had what else? He had a Korg Mini Pops of some description at the top. There was, what's that little Korg? Was it the Monotron, the little pocket-sized thing?
The little plastic.
Yeah, one of those, and a Volca, I believe, as well. And then they had a really old, was it Elka Panther? Does that ring a bell? Little organ, yeah. And a mic'd up xylophone as well, not like mics above it. It was like it had like jacks coming out of it, so that was quite cool. They're really, really great band to see. So thoroughly recommend it. It's their first time playing in 4 years. New album came out today called Heavy Heavy on Ninja Tune Records. Go and get it now. So yeah, it's just great to get out and watch gigs right now as well, because not having been I've watched about 3 or 4 so far this year, just sort of catching up, so it's really cool. And of course Gary Newman has just sold out in 3 minutes, I heard, or 3 hours, something stupidly quick. His 998th, 999th and 1000th gig, 3 nights at the Electric Ballroom in Camden, sold out, and his daughter Raven is his support act.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
In other news, Gary Glitter is out today.
Let's. Indeed.
Yeah.
Less said, the better. Anyway, so yeah, go out and support live music, especially electronic music, because it needs it. And go and do an EMOM. There you go. Have you ever done an EMOM, Mark? Have you ever thought about doing? Do you know what an EMOM is?
It's not what you think.
No, I don't actually.
Electronic music open mic night, EMOM.
Oh.
It's not. I think they go under. I think Paul Artola in the chat said that they go under a slightly different name in the US, but it's basically electronic musicians turn up with a bunch of stuff, mostly these little kind of groove boxes or bits of Eurorack or an MPC, and then just do a little mini set, 15 minutes, and the next one comes on, and the next one comes on, and it's turning out to be a really big thing, certainly over here. So yeah, I know Jamie's doing one. Jim Glue does a whole bunch of them, organises them around the country. So get yourself to one of those. Support your local musicians. And on that note, we shall say good night. Mark, thank you ever so much. Love to you and all of the family. We will get you both on. We'll do a double header. We'll get you both on at the same time. That'll be really cool. We'll be in touch. And good luck with the P12 when it turns up. And I can see she was really excited, so that's going to go down fantastic. Looking forward to hearing what Christine does with that. Kent, have a fantastic weekend, mate. Good to see you as always. And if you're doing a show tomorrow night, then look out for Kent Spong's channel. It's the KSR80 or KSR80s. Is there an S on the end?
It's KR80. KSR80.
KSR80. The link's in the thing.
My initials and my age.
There you go. It's always a good place to hang out and enjoy that. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Ali Cassidy will be our guest, and of course, come and join us on the Facebook page. Please do, because it's a really great community of people there. So thank you ever so much to everyone for watching. I don't believe I missed anybody out. Oh, by the way, Dean was saying, very interesting to know that Don Buchla and her father worked for NASA.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yes.
Cool fact. So yeah, we'll be back same time, same place next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. Make lots of great music. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Thanks for watching. Take care and goodbye.